So this is just a standard Rajang, so we don't really need to worry about having a group of 4. In fact, it could be said that this is going to be more substantial as a hunt. It's not always fun to completely decimate every monster that you find, and that's what happens when you've got a group of 4, typically in the endgame. You end up turning every fight into something more trivial than, say, 3 people on a monster. Obviously, it's quite practical when you're trying to forge things, but maybe when you're just kicking back and having fun in the game, you'd rather have a 10-minute hunt than a 5-minute hunt. Which monster pin attack do I think is the worst, or deadliest, as you describe? There is one. What was the one that really annoyed me? I need to think. There was one in particular that was difficult to deal with. It stands distinct from all the other monsters. I just need to remember which one it is. Was it Devil Joe? Didn't he have a weird one? Like, I think it's Savage Devil Joe in particular. He does a lot of pin attacks, or a lot of pin attempts. Strangely, I seem to remember a pin attack in particular that really annoyed me, but I'm not completely sure which one it is now. I did try to do a side slide there. I'm never going to use that phrase again, it sounds cheesy, side slide. I really don't like alliteration or rhyming. Those are the 2 things that I try to avoid. And of course, side slide has both. It just sounds like something that you would hear on children's programming. That's the impression I get. Now, if I'm climbing something with my shield raised, will that actually allow me to block something? Probably. I'm sure that it will. So yeah, for those just tuning in, I only made this weapon a short time ago using the trunk spines that I just had sitting in my box. Elder Frost trunk spines can be annoying to get, and I did just have a general objective of making various Gammoth weapons for use with Bludgeoner, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm using a Bludgeoner Lance set with this weapon. My plan was to make use of it as soon as I found a monster that was weak to ice, being placed on the board. And we have that monster in Rajang now. I'll try to find the opportunity to use Enraged Guard. Come on. No? Okay. It's always like that, isn't it? When you want the monster to hit you, they become extremely docile. And then when you're desperate for them not to hit you, they will launch themselves in your direction. Such is life. Just getting away from that tremor. Due to the extreme verticality of this area, and particularly of this one spot, I could barely see the monster there. It's a bit off-putting. Now, you will have noticed that I did the shield smack there, even though I was not within range. The reason why I did that is because if you don't do the shield smack, it is slower to get into an attack. So yeah, I would say generally you want to do that shield slap after an advance. Whether you can make contact with it or not. Oh, good timing for a mount. I will take this as an opportunity to use Corkscrew Jab. One of the more satisfying hunter arts of the game. That should be on the head. I'd say not all of it actually hit the head there, but definitely some of it did. I don't really need to break the horns, but it is nice when you can. Incidentally, I'd say the horns have fairly low HP as a breakable part, but it is very dangerous to stand directly in front of a Rajang. Again, due to that verticality, can't quite reach him. There's a good example of why Tremor can be very annoying when you're trying to counter. You counter the attack that produces the Tremor, but then the Tremor itself keeps you stuck in one place. Did manage to make contact with that shield slap is really what I was... I'll tell you how that happened. I combined the words slam and bash and got slash, which is definitely not the action that I just performed. Here's a good opportunity for shield assault. What a good hunter art. How good is that? It didn't end up being that helpful because he immediately left, but that's what I use shield assault for, is to actually close the distance, is not to use it as an attack. Of course, if you can use it as an attack, then that's great, but it's not its main function for me. I can't get over your name, Bacon Paste. Honestly, it's like dog water. I had to be informed as to what dog water actually was by an American, by the way. In fact, it was Ethan who told me. Good friend of mine. I was doing a live stream playthrough of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 on Xbox 360. And obviously something relating to the game was described as dog water. Quite appropriately, because that game is truly heinous. And I really did need it explained to me. I was like, what the fuck is dog water? But, yeah. Similar sort of unpleasant mental image as Bacon Paste. Oh, okay, I think he's going to the area where he sleeps, so that would be this way. It looks as if that area leads to... Well, that previous path leads to this area, or maybe I was confused as to where my character was positioned on the map. Doesn't matter. I knew where I was going, that's the point. I was briefly confused, but ultimately knew where I was going, and that's what matters. Don't really know if there's much point in using Enraged Guard at this point in the fight. Oh, that's not going to work. At least it didn't result in me getting hit. The reason why I did Enraged Guard there actually was because I was hoping he would do a little hop back right onto me. It didn't happen. Goodbye. Still under 10 minutes because it's a standard Rajang, but that felt pretty good. It was a good hunt. If anyone actually wanted the horns, unfortunately we didn't break the head in order to give him those horns, but I suppose if you don't let us know that that's what you want aimed for, we're not going to aim for it. It's usually a good idea to aim for those horns, though. Sometimes you don't know what you need until you're forging something, and if you're not forging it now, you'll just find out later what materials you need. It's more efficient to aim for everything, I guess, is the wisdom I'm trying to impart upon you as you listen. But sometimes laziness prevails. Got a distinction for that quest. Garbage truck in the street. I won't complain too much, though. I would like my rubbish to be collected, given that I live in a civil society. A person entered this room with a Chinese character as their name. And let me just say, I have noticed an extreme decline in the number of Chinese players in this game. It used to be the case that pretty much 90% of the people that you would encounter were Chinese, but now I'm seeing something very different. Definitely a changing of the guard has taken place when it comes to the community of this game. I'd say it's a positive thing because we're seeing a lot of new players of lower hunter ranks, so it's definitely a new generation of hunters. It's to be encouraged. Of course, the other Monster Hunter games before this one are not as accessible. They're a bit older. They're on systems that people may not have anymore. Like, for example, the 3DS. If you're younger, you probably wouldn't have a 3DS. But you would have a Switch if you were interested in a Nintendo portable system. Zenoga Enthusiasm, very well. Apparently this quest did not sit with that Chinese guy. Oh yes, I do have a roulette in order to select my weapon. Let's see what we get. Light bowgun. Alright. So yeah, I would not have even dreamt of using a light bowgun for this quest, but I don't mind doing it. Okay. Ice light bowgun. This particular loadout actually is more focused on the gun than other armor sets that I've made for rapid ice, or not rapid ice, but rather rapid element. Or rather, it is designed to assist the bowgun a little bit more. So that reload speed +1 really does help with this gun. You can see that with +1, I've still got average reload, so yeah, it's not often that I would go to that extent, but I felt that it was worth it for this bowgun. In other words, the demerit of its slow reload speed, it felt worth compensating for that by having an armor skill incorporated into the overall loadout. You can see it hasn't really detracted very much from the armor set. I've still got lots of good skills, which are applicable. Alright, so I'm actually going to bring freeze level 1. Sometimes I do forget to do that. The thing about these light bowgun elemental loadouts that I have is that they do have extensive internal ammunition for the element in question. So really, it's not a requirement in many quests for me to bring the level 1 ammunition, but it's obviously good to have, at least as a contingency. I did see that I got a Discord message. I'm recording my system audio at the moment, just so that you can hear the sound of that roulette spinning. Hopefully you didn't end up with a Discord notification in the live stream. Yeah, there was that person who failed quite miserably in a previous live stream to use the fence switch. Wonderlord's reminding us of that in the chat. And that was pretty funny. The person that I was playing with was one of the people. The person who was on my side of the fence when it went up was not impressed. Because basically what happened was we were fighting two monsters, and then two of us ended up on one side of the fence, the other two on the other side of the fence, but on our side were the two monsters. And for the two people who had basically closed themselves off on half of the arena that didn't actually have a single monster in it, only one of those people had a Farcaster to escape from the situation. So it makes me wonder if it was the guy who pressed the button who had the Farcaster. Imagine if you were the guy who didn't even press the fence switch, and then you got stuck in there with no monster to hunt. That would be pretty unfortunate. That's where the real comedy can be found. I don't know whether to laugh or to feel empathy. Starting off with the Pierce Freeze here. Which, by the way, is one of my favourite things about internal ammo in this game. It is the fact that you've actually got Pierce Element. How cool is that? It's cool for two reasons. The first being, obviously, that it's a new type of elemental shot, but in addition to that, you've just got more options. You've got more internal ammunition. It's not just freeze level 2. I believe I'm correct in saying that Pierce Elemental internal ammunition was not in Monster Hunter Generations. It only came in this game. Do correct me if I'm wrong, though. I just don't remember seeing it in that game. It may have been to do with the bowguns that I'd forged, though. Okay, Zenoga, it's time to maybe give it a rest. I think you've hit me enough times now. At least one of those times was a consequence of my laziness. But I don't know about the other 2 times. For some of my... I think for 2, or it could just be 1. The one that I remember... Well, let me actually phrase this so that you have at least half of an idea of what I'm talking about. On at least one of my Elemental Light Bowgun sets, I actually used the skill Resentment, which is really fun to use. Basically, for as long as you are in red health, as I am now for example, you get increased damage. It's a very cool skill. But I think I only have it on my Thunder Light Bowgun set. The best thing to do with that is to go into a hot location and not drink a cool drink. That is the best way to keep yourself in red health. This bowgun sound is very strange. It's almost distracting. Alright, now we're on to freeze level 2. This is where we want to be aiming a little bit more for... something about that backwards tail flip. I don't know if it has to do with him being hyper, but it feels like I can't identify the target of his tail flip as clearly when he's in hyper mode. Maybe it has to do with how he's changed from Portable Third and 3 Ultimate to this game. Now, for fuck's sake, we've got absolutely no business failing that quest, but I have to accept the result because I contributed to the failure. What the fuck? But yeah, I think it has to do not with him being hyper, but to do with my inability to adapt to the changes of the monster. It used to be clearer who he was going to tail flip in the past. Or tail slam, whatever you want to say. Yeah, bow in Generations Ultimate's good. I don't use R to shoot, though. I will, on that subject, tell you a pretty embarrassing story. I don't mind telling it, but it's interesting. Back when 4 Ultimate came out and pressing the R button to shoot with the bow was first introduced, I was extremely opposed to it, such that I completely boycotted the bow weapon type. Obviously, if I'd just gone through the options within the controls of the game, I would have been able to find that I could change from R to shoot back to X to shoot. And my failure to do that, or to do adequate research, caused me to pretty much not use the bow in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate until about 2019. So that's... yeah, that is definitely a thing. But anyway, I obviously did the same thing here with this game. I changed it to whatever type allows you to use X, and provided I'm able to do that, yes, I do enjoy a bow in this game and in 4th generation, generally speaking. Alright, so I need some honey, so let's speak to Sophia, I believe her name is. And hopefully we've got some... not trade. Yes, we do have some honey. Ready to go. This pleases me greatly. Sell all of those insect husks. Really don't need those. Alright, let's find some other cats that are not quite as worn out. Here we go. I don't think I have any gratuities, so... but I don't need them. fine. There's my happy cat. Oh, for goodness sake. Go this way then. I don't have that many cats. I don't use them to actually hunt with them. For the avoidance of doubt. Alright. There we go, we've got 3 stacks now. I may as well just combine all of my regular potions. There we go. Now we've got about the same amount of honey as we did when I returned from the quest before. Are we doing the same monster? No, we're not. Okay, did we just move on to the next person? I didn't really pay attention to who was posting last time. Alright, let me purchase some potions. Just get 3 stacks. Alright, now we're on to Duramboris. Let's see what our next weapon will be. There you go. Just after we were discussing it. Duramboris. Firebow. I might go with a heavy bow. How about that? Clear Sky Eos. You can probably imagine why I'm bringing a heavy bow, can't you? It's that hump on his back. It'll be much easier to hit with heavy shot. I have to say I am extremely overweight in this armor set. I had previous bow sets which all used this chest piece. I fixed those armor sets, or rather updated them, and as a result this is the only one left that still uses this chest piece. It's pretty bad. It's Gypsyros XR. There's just something about it. You can have big and bulky armor, but this one actually just makes you look like you've got a pot belly. Tal is once again giving us his catchphrase, which is, "We are so back!" In fact, we're not so back, because I completely forgot to bring coatings, so there you go. You can only get a little bit of the satisfaction of bow, given that I apparently can't remember to bring coatings to quests. What the hell are we fighting? Duramboris, yeah. To be honest, if he's not here or there, I don't know where the hell he is. Is he on the island? Oh no, I know where he is. Yeah, of course. I really should know this. We were back for a very short period there. Yeah, just for a brief moment. Look at that wind effect when he swings his tail. That's a nice little thing to add to the game. Oh no. Much harder to hit than you might think, especially when I've got fucking shrubbery in my face. And can't see a goddamn thing. That's actually the thing that's challenging me the most right now. I was going to comment on the fact that the Duramboris keeps moving around, which makes it a little hard to aim for things, but you know, once I have to angle my camera down like this, or angle it up, which therefore puts my perspective closer to the ground, I end up with bushes in my face, or in my field of vision. See that shit? That's awful. I feel like I'm playing first-gen jungle, and I've just got plants. You know, forget looking at the monster or looking at the environment, I'll just stare at plants. Which I guess is technically the environment, but I mean, you can't actually see anything beyond them half the time. Oh yeah, that's right. Got charge level 4 here. I do still need to get triple volley 3, but that's probably never going to happen at this stage, isn't it? If I haven't got it by now, by this point, it'll probably always be triple volley 2. Must be some villager request that I haven't done. Yeah, hurry up. This is a much better perspective. I can actually see what I'm doing. Yes, this bow does have power shot. Well, in fact, I think all bows have power shot, don't they? Yeah. It was only in 4 Ultimate where you either had power shot or arc shot. In this game, they've gone back to the original way of doing it, which changes the style of your arc shot, depending on the bow. But I think all of my sets have... Oh no, this set does not actually have true shot up. This is the only set that doesn't have it. All of my other sets do, and I think that was what caused me to update my bow sets. I was talking about this one being the only one left with this chest piece. That's because for all the others, I remade the sets to include true shot up. But I think, just because of the skills that I want with this armor set, I wasn't able to get true shot with it. Might have something to do with the load up, in conjunction with heavy up. Some skills are just difficult to get together. That was really annoying. Had the tail in my way. Thought I would be affected by that rule. Not quite on target there, but we have broken the hump. I don't know if that increases the damage that you deal, probably not, but at least it's confirmation that I've been effective. I do also have tactical retreat, but I didn't really need to use it in that situation. The monster is so slow. Just this hulking mass. Thought I might just do that. This is one of the monsters where arc shot's actually quite useful. So if you're playing Portable Third, for example, even in that game I would not encourage using arc shot in general. Sometimes arc shot can be nice for applying status to a monster, but generally speaking it just causes issues for your team and for no worthwhile damage benefit. But of course this monster having his weakness on his back makes arc shot pretty useful in that game. I'm not sure what the tail is like for shot damage, but I do know that for cutting it is best to aim for the tail, if you can't hit the hump. Probably the same for impact. Well, that made contact with something, just not what I was wanting for it to. Do I like Nergigante or Magna Malo more? I do prefer Magna Malo. Even with my limited experience with that monster. He's a little bit too similar to a Zenogre for me to like him a lot, but, you know, at least Nergigante is unique. He's not much of an Elder Dragon. The fact that he's towards the top of people's favourite monsters in this series really is baffling to me. I find that utterly daft. He doesn't even look or feel like an Elder Dragon. I find him very uninteresting. Definitely appropriate for a Monster Hunter World flagship, because that game seems to focus more on realism than on the JRPG elements, like the visual JRPG elements of earlier games, but yeah, no. I don't really like Nergigante, and Magnamalo, not that enthusiastic about him, but I think I prefer him. This monster has taken a serious beating, it has to be said. But it is to be expected. Duramboros has a lot of health, and this is the hyper version. Ow. Obviously, I do have Marathon Runner here with this set, which reduces the consumption of my stamina. You can get your tail out of my face. I will take credit for that. I think it's safe to do so. But yeah, I won't take this as an opportunity to discuss Monster Hunter Rise, because I do whatever I can to avoid that. But one thing that I had no issue with on the subject of Monster Hunter Rise are the monsters. I think the monsters were pretty good for the most part. It was just everything else that was complete arse. Alright, there you go. Got a limp. Someone's obviously welcome to capture if they'd like to. I really don't enjoy capturing hyper monsters. It feels like it's feels like a shortcut. More so than other quests, I suppose, because the hyper monsters do have so much health. Yeah, I know you've been waiting for years for a Poka Poka Airo village livestream. You'll have to wait a few more years, I regret to say. Is there a fan translation for it? If there's a translation for it, I may play it sooner rather than later, but that still will not be this year. You say probably, but really, is there enough interest to generate a fan group that would translate that? Or even a single person? Would there be a single person who wants to play Poka Poka Airo Village in English? Alright, there you go. Well, Kabika waited a very long time to get the trap out. And consequently, the monster's dead. That's assuming that the trap was meant for a capture, but... Anyway. You say the 3DS one has a translation. I didn't realize it was on multiple systems. Oh my god. I'd rather play Monster Hunter Massive Hunting, to be honest with you. We're very high up over here. he notices for the first time in over 15 years of hunting in this location. Monster Hunter now looks okay for a mobile game. Obviously, compared to the likes of dynamic hunting and massive hunting, it's a huge improvement. But, oh, that was apparently a gold crown small. Certainly didn't look like it, did it? But apparently that's what it was. But yeah, the premise of the entire game is that you want to experience Monster Hunter on a fucking mobile phone, which I do not want to do. So, yeah, I could praise Monster Hunter now as much as I'd like to, but I'm not going to play it, because I'm not interested in playing a game that is limited by its system in that sort of way. I don't need Monster Hunter on the go. If I were that desperate to play Monster Hunter on the go, I would emulate a PSP game on my phone. Or even a 3DS game at this stage. So, I see absolutely no reason to do that. And also, isn't it vertical? I think it's vertical as well, my god. That is the bane of our era, I have to say. Or of this particular decade. Vertical video, oh my god. The way we have trivialized our history by making everything fucking vertical. I mean, yes, I understand that it is the shape of our devices that we use right now, but do you really think in 15, 20 years our devices that we're going to be interfacing with will be that shape? They might be. But at a certain point, it's not going to be that shape anymore. It may not be something physical that we're holding in our hand. It probably won't be. So, you know, we'll look back 20 years, I mean, there'll just be this little blip in our history where everything's just fucking vertical and looks like shit. Whereas beforehand, looks great, you know. Even 4.3 looks better than that vertical crap, don't you think? So, you know, 4.3 for decades. 16:9 for, you know, about 15 years. And then all of a sudden, blah, vertical garbage. And then, I don't know, back to 16:9 or whatever ends up looking best. Probably 16:9, whether you've got a device that's shaped like that or not. It's a nice ratio. What was put on the board? I've got no idea. I'm too busy ranting about vertical video. This quest again. Alright. I don't mind. Light bowgun again. It is what the roulette has decided. I don't mind. Light pierce, I suppose, at this stage. I'm not going to take the time to use, for example, light status, because you may have seen that I had a light bowgun status set there, but equipping that would require a little bit too much preparation, given the fact that these guys have already had to wait a little while for me, given that I've been ranting. Alright. I think I've got all that I need. Except, I do not have my food boost. These guys have been exceedingly patient, for which I am only somewhat grateful. Really, it's to be expected, but you can't really expect those things in this community. So I'm in two minds about it. I am both grateful and also neutral. Zoroark reacts with OMG, and then Kabika says LOL. I don't know, man, this is Monster Hunter, I'm not sure what you're reacting to. Certainly not the first time you've seen a Rajang. Although, if it were, that would be a natural reaction to a giant horned monkey. Nope. Seems that I have Challenger on this set. Challenger +2, Pierce Arm, True Shot Arm. Oh, so... Yes, yeah, True Shot, cool. Just have to familiarize myself with that. Increases the power of bowgun internal ammo. Sorry, I'm too busy looking at that shit. I thought True Shot Up was, where it increases the window for Pierce. Does it not do that? I thought it did do that. Was it a different skill that did that? Well, when I built the armor set, I could remember what the skills did, so I should trust my past self. I believe that's what it does. Well, someone will correct me if I'm wrong. Unless I did that for the slicing ammo. Maybe that's its function. I don't think so, though. I think I've used it for the window of effectiveness of Pierce. If it were a different skill, though, I don't remember what it is. Oh. No, I'm not referring to internal Pierce ammunition. Oh, shot booster, right. So I must have used it for slicing shot, then. Yeah, shot booster. Thanks for the reminder. I think I used shot booster with my heavy Pierce set. But yeah, slicing is still very good in this game. They've just done what they can after the debacle of Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate to give you access to less of it. Oh. And there's no slicing up either, so pretty much the closest thing to slicing up is True Shot Up. I really don't think this Rajang is going to last very long. We may even one-zone him. I'll shoot my last Pierce and then probably move to slicing. Probably could have started with slicing given that it's internal. Not good. Fuck. Tip of the tail. Or I should just say the tail. Oh, that was an anal insertion. I apologize for that. That would not be comfortable. Yeah, so I'm referring to this game specifically. Gentleman Crow, I do recall world being ridiculous for slicing. Just goes to show that Capcom don't learn their lessons. Or at the very least, they forget the lessons they've learned. If there's one very clear example of Capcom being completely incapable of adequately balancing a Monster Hunter game, it would be Monster Hunter World, the game where they can actually release updates to the balancing, and they still can't get it right. Alright. I'm going to try and not do this quest again. If it does end up on the board once more, I'll just relocate. Look at the autumn leaves falling. I don't know why I'm becoming so fixated on the backgrounds in this recording, but I am. I'm noticing them more than usual. Almost gives you an idea of what this location would be like if it were one whole map without separate areas. To be clear, I do prefer separate areas just for the way Monster Hunter works as a game, but it would be nice to experience these locations as one full map. Almost as a tour, not so much as an experience of playing the game, but just to see what they're like, you know. But yeah, I'll stay with this team for as long as they can provide the entertainment that I'm looking for. It's been fine so far. But I do try to avoid repetition in the quests being embarked upon. Hostler. Yeah, alright. Apparently, Zoroark is French and he has now vacated the room. That puts a funny image in my mind. Didn't know he was French until he left. What's my favorite map? Probably Deserted Island. Deserted Island. For the nostalgia, and just because of the look of it. I really like it a lot. It just feels like a true wild location, like a cut-off island. Maybe that's because of playing the offline of Monster Hunter Tri and 3 Ultimate, because you start off in that fishing village and then you venture out into the island, the Moga Woods. Didn't mean to join it. You like the tower? Fair enough. Which tower? Just the whole location, or the arena of the tower, or all of the above? Greatsword. Sure. Greatsword against a Glavenus. What are my options for Bludgeoner? That's a fucking option. Look at that. I like it. Plesioth Wave Edge. Don't think I've ever seen a Plesioth that has this coloration, but that's alright. Is this what a Plesioth looks like after it's dead? It starts to go purple. I think the tower is okay in some ways, but it's very annoying to have to ascend it when you're doing, you know, the various quests that force you to do that. It's usually in high rank when that happens, but... yeah, I can't say I'm a huge fan of having to go to the top of a tower to begin an actual hunt. Yeah, the underwater shortcut was pretty good. Can only be experienced in the 2 underwater games, sadly. At least they kept the shortcut from Area 8 to Area... Well, they changed the shortcut a little bit, but it's still accessible. Like I'm not referring to the one where you jump down to Area 5, I mean the one where you've got the vine. It used to dunk you in the water, but now it goes to Area 10. That was a bit overzealous, wasn't it? Or a bit overconfident, actually. Try to iframe through that attack. It possibly can be done, but I feel like those flames probably last a bit longer than a normal attack. Might need evasion skills for it. Very good. All three of us are using Greatsword. Because these are the only loadouts that they've got. Well, the only ones that they feel are worth using. They are actually relatively low hunter rank, so... They are of relatively low hunter rank, so... I suppose that was their main endgame set that they made. And that's all they have access to. They're very boring, just to be clear. If you are forced to only use one weapon with one set, and it's Blade Master. Because of course that set is reliant on the triple slot of Neb to Jessa. Alright, so that one was easier because it's like a more solid fireball. Whereas the more splashy looking fire from last time, I think is a bit harder to iframe. I now have Moonbreaker ready to use. A good turnaround. I'll settle for a level 2 on the face here. Is it worth hoping for? No. Sometimes it is worth... If you're already charging, sometimes you can just hold it for a while and hope that the monster moves into it. It does happen. And there goes Kabika. It's a fun fight though, Glavenus. I like how he moves. I really like the monsters that seem very, almost athletic. That's how I felt about Deviljho when I played Tri. He was, he seemed very bulky, but he had an almost athleticism to him, particularly with the attack where he swings his head from side to side while stepping forward. This monster even more so, in comparison to Deviljho, with his whole pirouette maneuvers. Yeah, Deviljho is probably my favorite. I think I explained it in my 3 Ultimate livestream why he was my favorite. I seem to remember it was that one. It was either the 3 Ultimate or the Portable Third livestream. Basically, anyone who played Try, I think, will inevitably have Deviljho in their top 3. He didn't really decline after that, at least not in 3rd or 4th gen. But he never was quite the same after that first game. Just more of an intimidation factor. Where are you headed? Not a fucking hot drink. That is ill-advised in the desert. Well, no, actually. That's not true. Certain communities who live in desert landscapes actually drink hot tea in order to sweat. It cools them down. As counterintuitive as that may sound. Don't really like how you shifted positions there. Would have liked it if you turned to face me or something. Very good. Attack the Apsaros. Annihilate him. The more Apsaros suffer, the wider my smile becomes. I truly hate them. I probably hate Apsaros more than Bullfangr. There's something really petulant about them. Like, you could be fighting the monster, minding your own business on one end of the map, and then a team of Apsaros are on the opposite end of the map, and they'll just slowly start walking towards you with the intention of fucking your day up. They're just so annoying. Fortunately, I was out of the range of the explosion of that attack. Really do need to do Moonbreaker. I keep forgetting about him. I'll find the right moment. That was pretty good. Would have liked a flinch of some kind, come on. Nope. Kabika has an auto shout which says Hunter breathing style. What? Okay. Definitely helpful for all of us to be reading that. I do love that tail break. Of course, because that tail is moving around so much, it can be difficult to hit unless you're aiming for it while he's on the ground. I did try to evade to the side there, but needless to say, it was ineffective. Apparently the tail break of the Glavenus actually hurts you when it falls on you. I've never seen that, but I can believe it. That would probably be the only example of its kind in the whole series, if that were true. It's a big blade, so I suppose, you know, you break off the blade, it's basically like a giant sword falling on you. They wouldn't be so unkind as to have it deal lots of damage, but dealing damage of any kind, I think, would be unique among all the monsters. Couldn't see what you were doing. Just for good measure, I'm raising my sword. I've got plenty of grain sharpness. Aha, very nice. I think he actually got flinched slightly, stepped back into the head charge. Or in fact, that's what made it a head attack. Fortunately, that didn't hit me. That would have been very annoying. I think he's... No, he wouldn't be exhausted. It's a hyper monster. It just looked like he was slowing down there for a moment. Oh my god. I have had to heal a lot, though. Don't go dying on us, bacon paste. Mr. Disgusting name. I could always support, but he seemed like he was out of danger, so I didn't feel it necessary. Still no limp. That's not very good. I'm sure these guys are playing fine. They're very aggressive. They're keeping on the monster, so I wouldn't lay the blame at their door for our relatively slow hunting. Oh, it is hyper. That's true. Yeah, there's 3 of us, and it's a hyper monster, so I think this is acceptable. I'm just so used to hunting with 4 people. Moonbreaker again. And there's our limp. I'd love to do a Brimstone / Wake Up. I'd very much enjoy that. But of course we're pursuing this monster so aggressively that I don't think we're going to give it the chance to sleep. People don't really do that anymore, you see. Actually waiting for the monster to sleep so that you can wake him up. Yeah. Not on the agenda, I can see. Well, Kabika wants to capture, so that's fine. Or I would presume that he wants to. I'll let him throw the tranks because I generally prefer to kill, so... If that's his objective, I'll leave it up to him. That's something that I really don't like. It's that when you stand still, this was something that was introduced in Monster Hunter Generations. If you stand still with a trank, you drop it like a smoke bomb. If you're moving, you throw it. To me, I just find that confusing because sometimes you might be out of range. Like, you might actually be intending to throw. So when you took the throw, you might have been quite far from the monster. But now that you've come to a halt, you then throw it on the ground and you're actually out of range. I've had that happen before. Obviously it's not problematic if you're used to the trank working in that way. You'd position yourself appropriately. But I think early on that was confusing and annoying for me. I think I've since gotten used to it, maybe. Maybe not at the moment because I've played a lot of older Monster Hunter in the intervening years, but still. Are you sure that was introduced in 4 Ultimate? Are you absolutely sure? I really don't think so. But anyway. I don't remember that being a 4th gen thing. I remember that being later on. Okay, well you insist. Hi, says Kenny. Happy for him to post. He's still using high rank stuff, so... Well, it is to be expected. He's only HR 9. I'm happy to give him a hand. In fact, what's the objective of this room? There isn't one. So, it's not necessarily a turns room. But I'm happy to accommodate him. It's up to Bacon Paste, ultimately. I don't even want to say his name. I'll just say the host. Seriously. Rust Razor G2. Obviously posted with absolutely no regard for the fact that Kenny is in the room. You needn't leave, Kenny. I'll try to... You know, you must accommodate for people like this. You haven't set an HR limit that prevents him from joining, so you really should accommodate him. That's the reality. Kenny is HR 9. The ball is in your court, Bacon Paste. And he has chosen to do the right thing. Again, you're not forced to accommodate Kenny, but in my opinion, if you've made a room where you've allowed him to join, you haven't prevented him from joining based on the room information that you've set, or the room restrictions that you've set, then you should accommodate him. Alright, Kenny's been given the opportunity to pick, so that's good to see. I patiently await your your quest that you would like to do. Obviously, at this stage, I would encourage him to get a G-rank armor set, but it's his choice. He may just want to do the key quests at this stage. I'm really annoyed now. I really want to boot Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate and try tossing a trank, because I'm 99% certain that you don't drop it on the ground in that game, but... I can't, unfortunately. I don't have my computer working. If I were able to play a 4 Ultimate, I'd probably be playing it instead of this game. It's actually bothering me now. Anyway. Oh yes, I need to actually make a weapon selection. Great, there's someone with a power tool in the background. Insect glaive. Very well. It doesn't really have to be anything special, of course, it's only... it's only Kaku. But we will use the appropriate element. These guys are probably a little incredulous that I'm taking time to get ready for a quest like this, but... it's the way I choose to do it. Already eaten. Well, thanks for the comment, PKTR. I'm glad that you were able to catch me live. No, I like Generations Ultimate, it's just that I try not to play the same game repeatedly in this series. My intention with this series was to always do a different Monster Hunter game. And obviously, if I only play the same Monster Hunter game repeatedly, it is going to become progressively less interesting to record it. So, it's just to avoid monotony and to maintain interest, both for myself and possibly for the audience, but I don't think the audience cares. I think a lot of people like this game. I've never had so much viewership since, or as I am getting now with just doing Generations Ultimate, so obviously other people don't find it repetitious, but for me personally, I would like to try and play all of the games. Yeah, you're right, Crow. I think it's important to prepare for any hunt. It's the way the game's meant to be played. It's just it's a little unfortunate that online play doesn't encourage that these days. The expectation is that you are ready to go as soon as possible. These guys are fine. Like, this particular group of people aren't impatient in any way that I've been able to identify. But other groups can be extremely impatient. And if they're ready to go and you're not, they will simply go without you. It's happened time and time again. Oh my god. I'm trying to get the head. Well, got the wing, which is fine. Head, please. There you go. I'm not going to bother with any mounts. Particularly because I think this monster will be dead before I actually run out of my 3 colors. Yeah, well, the question that I ask myself in getting so much more viewership for this game than other games, is it a case of people still having it delivered to their feeds and then them just deciding not to watch it, or is it not being delivered at all because it's not Generations Ultimate? That's what I wonder. Are there people who just algorithmically do not receive video uploads for the older games? I suppose they don't. I think that's unfortunate. I think if you're interested in Monster Hunter, you should enjoy watching all of the games, really. But maybe some people can't really relate to a game that they're watching unless they've actually played it themselves. That could be a factor. Yeah, I was actually referring to the VODs that I upload on YouTube after the fact. On Twitch, it's obviously very different. That's usually where you would search based on a game, so there's absolutely no mystery as to, you know, viewership levels on Twitch. But YouTube's a little different. Test my evasion skills on this guy. My almost non-existent evasion skills, I might add. It's a little unfortunate that the host feels that he can't really do a quest that he wants to do because Kenny's in the room. I think that's a little unfortunate, but hopefully he can get a quest together that all of us can play together in. Because it doesn't necessarily have to become the Kenny show where only he posts quests. We don't have to defer to him to that extent. Seeing as though I'm just selecting random weapons anyway, I'll do my weapon selection now. I'll take it. I'll take it. Hopefully it's not something that's weak to water. Oh, we've got a cat. Of course, if the host chooses to just take a back seat and allow Kenny to post whatever he wants, that's also fine. I probably won't hang around for very long, though. Fighting the most basic monsters with a group of 4 can be a bit uninteresting. What is that robot cat? I don't think I've seen that before. I suppose it's not so much a robot, it's more like a, an astronaut. Might be related to, Metroid. Lost, but not for long. Alright, Gypsaurus, so in this case, fire insect glaive. Matching my armor set. I do love the design of this insect glaive. Look at the shape of it. I don't know if it extends out in any way when you unsheath it, but even as it is here, very attractive. Clavernous weapons and armor in general are pretty cool. Well, it could be argued that prowlers are underrated, but to speak for myself, I really don't like them. I suppose other people can use them if they want to, but yeah, I don't have any interest in using prowlers. It's too far removed from the Monster Hunter experience for me to gravitate towards it. This is a great message. Wow, this is so terrible. My super important survey report. Sobbing scientist. My academic career will be over. Get a grip, man. Alright, I've got my orange, so now I can aim for the head. Oh, you can keep doing that, I guess. Very cute, Chips. Let's just keep doing this over and over again. Oh my god. Expertly evading. I didn't really want to continue. Well, actually, it was, in the end, helpful for me to continue that combo, despite the fact that I was completely off target like that. I was able to hit the tail, which is really what you want to be aiming for. One of the best hit zones in the series, that tail. Going all the way back to Monster Hunter 1. Well, I do have Extract Hunter charged, but I don't think it'll be necessary. Again, the inclines and declines in this terrain are just annoying. I've always had mixed feelings about verticality in Monster Hunter. You know what it is? It's not verticality as a concept, it's the... I think it's the application of it that I don't enjoy. I think it can be done well and done not very well. And I'd say this map, particularly this area of this map, is really not good. Alright. May as well use it. Yeah, I didn't get much use out of it, but that's fine. Oh god, don't remind me of Silverwind. I think I said incorrectly that I had not done any high rank deviants. I'm pretty sure Silverwind actually comes from Generations, so I have technically done a high rank deviant, and that would be Silverwind. I did way too much of him. Way too much. And the reason why was because I didn't just do it for myself, I did it for, I think, 2 other friends of mine. I can't do that fucking monster anymore. I don't think he's a bad deviant, but when you fight the same monster that many times, not even for fun, but rather to actually achieve something, at least in my case, I just can't look at the thing anymore. Or at the very least, I can't look at it in the same way. It has been a number of years, though, so... maybe I'm fine with it now. Yeah, Silverwind was probably my first EX as well. It was either that or Soulseer. One of the two. Soulseer EX is probably one of the easier ones. I'll wait and see what's happening. If Kenny's posting again, and this is nothing against him, I will relocate, because I don't really want to continue doing these really basic monsters. It's worth mentioning, though, that this guy's going to have no issues finding people to play with. The community is a healthy one at the moment, and there are plenty of people of lower level as well, from what I can tell. The reason why they're not really showing up here in my searches is because I'm specifically searching for HR 13 plus rooms. That is to say, rooms that are hosted by people who are at least of that rank. Help with Atalkar. Not at this stage. Maybe this room? Zamtrios, right ahead. Well, hopefully these guys are patient enough to wait for me to change. I will need a moment. Heavy bowgun. I'll just bring heavy pierce. Or heavy element? Oh, should I do it? No, not against this monster. There you go, there's my shot booster. Which makes sense, really. You know, if I'm going to choose between shot booster and true shot up, in the case of the light bowgun set, it makes more sense, in my opinion, to boost the damage of slicing when you've got it as internal ammo. For this gun, my only internal ammo, really, is Thunder level 2, which isn't really applicable for this fight. And for most fights, really. Alright, that should do me. Shouldn't need to bring combinations for my shots. I almost never do that. I think the only quests where I would be inclined to do that would be EX, where I'm expecting it to be possibly a 20-minute affair. I'm going to take a moment to turn on my aircon and get a beverage. Among other things, have to take something out of the fridge for later. So, yeah, I'm going to just stand right here and hopefully not die to Conchu. I'll be back in a moment. I've returned. And I didn't die, but I wasn't that far away from dying, to be honest with you. This team is probably not impressed. But I'll tell you what they would be less impressed by. Me standing AFK in that room after I had just joined it. Anthony has an auto shout, which is plot armor, activate. I really don't like auto shouts, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to ruin people's fun when I say that, I just mean that when you have those kinds of auto-shouts, it completely trivializes the chat. But I suppose people don't really talk to one another about strategy in the hunt anymore. It's not really a thing. Oh, and he's also got Skadoosh. Fortunately, I'm covering his messages, so really I should just not say anything. I'll just suffer alone. No wonder, Lord, the best ones are when they're quoting from an anime that they like. Oh yeah, gunpowder infusion. Forgot about this thing. If I didn't have enough damage already with this loadout, I'll just use gunpowder infusion as well. Oops. I find Zamtrios, even in his high perform, to be so useless compared to, for example, Tiger Stripe Zamtrios, the subspecies, in 4 Ultimate. I've been trained to see an inflated Zamtrios and feel fear. Well, not really fear, more like feel concern. Or to expect some kind of inconvenience, but no, not with this guy. He doesn't move very far at all when he's inflated. In fact, most of what causes an issue for the team is when he inflates himself, because that widening of his body actually ends up being a fairly effective attack, but then after that, not really. Not compared to Tiger Stripe. And he's inflating again. Probably indicates that he's getting low in health, but probably not. I mean, I can't imagine we're doing that much damage. I'd like to withdraw what I just said. Nope. No, apparently I was bang on. Do you know why it felt much shorter? It's because I had spent the first 3 minutes of the hunt not actually participating, so that explains it. This person's named their cat Moonshine. Very good. Yeah, bow guns are fun. I don't use them as much anymore. And the reason why I say that is because at a certain point, it probably would have been about 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, I realized, oh wow, I can't really call myself a bowgun main anymore, because I used to main them. Particularly in 3rd generation. Definitely 3rd generation is where I was using bowguns the most, so Monster Hunter Tri, Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, a little bit in Portable 3rd, but I was having so much fun with the new weapons of Portable 3rd that bowguns took a little bit of a backseat. And when I say new weapons, I mean the way that they changed the animations and the way that you used them. It was so much fun to experience them that I don't think I bowgunned quite as much, but definitely in those other 3rd gen games, I was pretty much a bowgun main when I wasn't using a sword and shield or a greatsword. But by the time I was playing Generations and Generations Ultimate, no, not really. And that flowed through into the older games as well when I'd go back and play them, just not really using a bowgun as much anymore. I'm not sure what that is. It's not that the bowgun fell out of favor with me, it just stopped being as fun. I didn't get as much enjoyment out of it anymore. I should try to revitalize my interest. I think the best way to do that would be to make more loadouts, more gunner loadouts. And do things that I used to do, like status gunning. I don't really do that anymore. KO gunning with crag shots. Don't really do that anymore. Adrenaline gunning. Not so much. I've become a bit boring. I think that's what's happened. Alright, well someone wants to do Zamtrios again, and then someone else is posting Zenoga. Well, now you've got me very confused, Pendriel, because if you were under the impression that this were a turns room, it wouldn't be your turn anyway. Not by order of who's in the room. So I'm not sure what you're playing at, but it's definitely an attempt of some kind to post your quest. Pendriel's just staring agog at the quest board, unsure as to what to do. Well, I personally joined the room because I saw hyper monsters, not Zamtrios. I'm trying not to do the same quest repeatedly. Of course, it's Anthony's prerogative to decide which quest we do, but... I don't really want to do Zamtrios again. Is Pendriel leaving? One way or the other, I'm probably going to leave as well, just because I'm not really interested in doing Zamtrios more than once. Oh well, the guy lost his room, but that's okay. Recruiting for Lagia Crushed. Okay. Lots of punny names for quests in this game. It's basically Dad Joke, the Monster Hunter game. Which isn't a bad thing. Oh yeah, there you go. As I say... Oh, actually, do you know what? It's low rank, so I'm not missing out on anything at all. Very good. I would have left anyway. 896, Grudge Match Plesioth. It's not often that you encounter people who only have digits in their names. What's mine is mine. Get it? Absolutely hilarious. This person has hopefully intentionally misspelled their name. And here we go. We've got another G-rank hyper monster. At least I hope it's G-rank. I didn't double check that, but... Alright. Next loadout. You didn't really get to see much of the heavy bowgun, did you? The monster was dead before I could demonstrate much. Sorry, I roll my eyes because I'm reminded of a hammer quest that I did with Gamoth. It's not included in the VOD because it was truly not an experience that I wish to share with any of you. Outside of maybe recounting it verbally. I wouldn't want you to have the full experience of seeing it on camera, but yeah. I could either do poison, or I could do... Well, maybe I will do poison, like old times. Poison, water, or dragon, these are the questions that that enter my mind. Why do I have this? It was a good hammer in Freedom Unite, but don't know about this game. It's not upgraded, so I'm not touching it, obviously, but... Well, what is my water hammer? Here we go. So I can either use a giant frag grenade or a Yangaruga head. Let's use the Yangaruga head. Because I do happen to know that this is pretty good as a raw hammer, even without the additional poison. Let's just use this. Particularly because... And unfortunately I can't really use this triple slot for anything. Mainly because I don't really use this hammer very often, so... I may as well. I may as well. Weaken Earth. It is individual, Wonderlord. Poison is set damage rather than a percentage of health, I'm pretty sure. So, you know, a monster having more health is not going to make poison more effective. That's my understanding of how poison works. So every monster will have their individual build-up, and I think also the amount of damage that poison does to them each time it is in effect. I think the calculation is usually from start to finish, like the duration, how much HP is taken for the duration of poison being in effect. You can probably then break that down into, you know, per second, but yeah, the information I've seen is, I think, based on total duration, but it is individual. Every monster's a little different. It's probably accurate to say that brute wyverns are generally more susceptible to poison. And I do know that Uragan is one such example. Be nice if I knew where the hell he was. Valmar is in the room. Well, I regret to say that we have already departed. I'm not following my own advice and waiting for a fourth person when we've got three. I love the feeling of hitting a Uragan chin with a hammer in this particular game. It feels like there's less resistance. Do you know what? That's what it is. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but interestingly in 3rd generation, when your hammer makes contact with the chin, it feels like there's some slight resistance there, but here it just looks more smooth. Like you're almost cutting through the chin with the hammer. Maybe there's a visual effect that makes it look that way. I'm not sure what it is, but that's the impression that I get. Feels like there's less resistance. It feels nicer in a way, but also a little less realistic. Or it perhaps isn't the presence of a visual effect, it might be the lack of a visual effect that makes it feel that way. I don't know. Anyway. Better get out of the way of you. Not this way, please. The poison value is not very high on this, it's 22. So definitely this is more of a raw-focused hammer. But I should be able to get at least one poison during this quest. Oh dear. That is more than half of my health, unless I didn't have full health, but yeah, this is dangerous business. Oh god. This is not a good place to fight an Uragan. This is definitely not... it doesn't come as a surprise to find him here. He usually does start here. I remember this from generations as well. I just don't think it's a good starting area for him. He's a monster that covers a lot of ground very quickly, so why put him in such a cramped area? Maybe it's because that's deemed challenging for the hunter. But rather than challenging, it just seems awkward. Well, it is challenging, but what sticks out to me a whole lot more is how awkward it is that you've got a monster like that in a cramped space. Oh my god. I don't know what caused that to detonate. It might have been the gunner. Do you think he may have shot one of those rocks as it came out of the chin? Or not out of the chin, but out of the body. And then it exploded on me. That would have been a pretty good troll. If so. Yeah, so the build-up is faster, the higher the poison value. As I mentioned, the amount of poison damage that's dealt to the monster is based on the monster itself. So think of it as like, you know, proportional to the chance that you'll actually proc the poison when you hit the monster. Like, that's what it indicates. At least I think so. I could be wrong about that. That's the one thing I'm not sure about. I don't know if it increases the likelihood of applying the status, or if when you apply the status it becomes more potent. It's probably more likely to be the latter than the former. The former sounds less helpful, doesn't it? Oh, okay, the range of that is different now. I can't actually reach the chin with a hammer while he's doing that. I could in the previous games. Oh, let's do Spinning Meteor. Should be able to get it all out. Now, while it may actually appear as if not all of that made contact, definitely via lag compensation, the total damage was dealt. And possibly the total KO as well. Got red SP in effect at the moment. That's one thing I don't really spend time even thinking about. It's the existence of SP in this game. I believe that's related to the alchemy style. There's other ways to get adept as well. Oh, excuse me. There are other ways to get SP outside of the alchemy style, but at least I think so, but I don't really remember much about it. It was explained to me. But I play far too many Monster Hunter games these days to really retain all information that is unique to Generations and Generations Ultimate, especially given that I don't play Generations anymore. Don't know why I would, really. Just the Ultimate version. Oh, I see. So Hyper will actually change the range of his gas. Is that what you're saying, AJ? That would make sense. Oh, Wonderlord mentioned the same thing. There you go. I didn't know that the range of his outward attacks increased when he became Hyper. You learn something new every day, as they say. Just makes me a whole lot less effective. Oh, I can reach you now. Maybe it depends on whether he's enraged or not. Because that seemed smaller. Unless, of course, the sleep is wider than the fire, which is possible, but yeah, that's probably what it is. Now, I hope that I've applied poison at some point during this fight. I haven't noticed it because I haven't been looking for it, but if I haven't actually applied poison at all yet, that would be quite sad. Oh, I think it just happened. Did it? No, it didn't. Oh well. The reason why I got confused there is because I actually saw the poison bubbles. But maybe they include that with the actual visual effect of hitting the monster here. Ow. Yeah, so which part of the monster being hyper affects the range of the gas? I guess is it the stomach, the main body? I really don't know. No, that seems to be the same as before. So it seems that the gas is going to be larger because the monster is hyper in general. The back? Well, the back wasn't hyper there, guys. But the sleeping gas seemed larger there as well. Unless I'm going crazy and it was smaller there than last time. Unless when you say back, you're referring to the tail, but that looks like the tail to me. If you're wondering why I'm not using impact press, I guess I'm just not paying attention. Let me do it. Don't interrupt me. I understand impact press to be sort of similar to... oh god, I have to remember what it's called now. The one for dual blades where your face turns all black. Well, that thing. In other words, it does a few extra impacts. Possibly more useful for applying KO than damage itself. I don't think it's literally the same. Oh, yeah. I forgot that it actually changes your attack pattern. This is why I don't use it. Yeah, it's more for KO, I think. It's not quite the same as the dual blades. Because with the dual blades, it will actually double the number of impacts that your weapon does on the monster, whereas with this seems to be more for KO damage. Yeah, Wolf's Maw. It's kind of cool though, it speeds up your impact. I just have to adapt to it though, because it's a little different to what I'm used to. Sorry, Midnight. Obviously it's not very good for the hunters around you from what I've just discovered. Can I upswing with it, though? It looked like I couldn't. Let me find out. Yeah, that's fine. Oh my god. Definitely focused on KO there. Very cool. Makes sense to use it if you're focused on KOing monsters with the hammer, which most people would be. It doesn't attach itself to the part that you've made contact with, though. It's only in the same spot as where your hammer hit on the ground. My impact press is gone now, but it looks like good fun. I haven't really been using it, to be honest with you, but... changes the way you use the weapon a little bit. But for the most part, you're rewarded in the same way you would be if you were being accurate with the hammer normally. It doesn't really widen your area of effect, and I guess it speeds up your attacks. But yeah, anyway. It's a good hunter art, I'd say. I've applied my poison, hopefully for the second time. It's the first time I've noticed it, but I can't imagine it took this long to apply the poison, even at 20. Possible capture attempt? Oh my god, that was scary. I thought I saw Tranks going out there, I must be blind. The chin is broken now, so we definitely want to be aiming for it, not just for KO, but just for damage as well. Alright, let's get impact press out again. It is visually very cool as well, isn't it? Oh my god! That's fine. We're not in a very good spot to be fighting him. Well, I saw his alchemy barrel, yeah, but it looked as if there was a... I thought I saw him throw a trank before he was shaking his alchemy barrel. Harmed by digging animation. It smokes while you shake it. Okay. I've only ever watched people use alchemy. Never touched it in my life. The more you know. Oh god. Well, Midnight, if you want to be unable to carve the monster, it's an excellent idea to attack him while he's standing in the lava. That should be okay, but the point before where Midnight was hitting the very edge of the tail while the entire rest of the body was in the lava, that was not a good idea. Anyway. Definitely a good example of just sort of attacking without thinking, but it didn't end up being problematic. It almost was. But we're all right. Might do some mining. Actually, I bet I don't have a pickaxe. I bet I don't. No, I do. I carry pickaxes for some reason. For some reason, I actually carry them. Not that I'm really in need of this stuff, but why not? It's almost nostalgic to be mining in this game. This hammer should breathe fire. Could be interesting. Imagine a hammer with ranged attacks. Alright, I wonder what our next weapon will be. Great sword. Works fine for me. I'll do a few more hunts, maybe 2 more. Yeah, not a turns room necessarily, so I guess we just leave it to Jolzinfrey, seeing as though he's technically the room host. He would have been part of a previous room and then became the room host when everyone else left. Gravios Giga How. It's just funny seeing that bowgun. So many people used it back in 4 Ultimate. Mainly for the crouch firing of Pierce. What I chose to do instead was to lower the recoil of Destiny's arm, the Crimson Fatalis heavy bowgun, and shoot with the limiter removed. which I found to be better. But yeah, it was definitely a trend to use this bowgun in 4 Ultimate. You almost never see it here, in the same way that you almost never see Seregios weapons. And it's not like the Seregios weapons got worse, it's just that people follow trends, I guess. People just don't see the value in the sharpening ability of it anymore. P1, says Josenfrey. He's choosing to do it turns room style, which is fine. Well, hopefully Midnight actually knows what that means. When you say absolute readiness is a thing, does that sharpen your weapon as well? I didn't know that. What are you doing? No. P1. Well, if at Hunter rank 242 you don't know what P1 means, I'd colour me shocked, I guess. Yeah, okay, I didn't know absolute readiness actually sharpened as well. That's pretty cool. I only ever used it on my joke weapon roulette set, because that was meant to be the ultimate general use armor set, so I didn't want to actually use any hunter arts that were specific to a weapon type. For the most part it is based on meta PKTR. 9 times out of 10 if you see a lot of people using the same set across the different games, it is because they are among the best sets, but yeah, it's not always the case. Not always. But definitely the fact that Seregios weapons were really widely used in 4 Ultimate, but not used at all in this game. We're talking fairly common in 4 Ultimate, almost never seen in this game. It's a different community, different trend. That is definitely a trend. I mean, you can't make an argument for relative effectiveness that would result in the weapon just not being used at all. It's definitely, it might be a mixture of relative effectiveness, but also, I think it's definitely trends. One of the reasons why I don't have Seregios weapons is because I don't really use raw weapons that often. And when I do use raw weapons, I go for the one that literally does the most damage. So, what was put on the board again? Be great if I actually paid attention to these things. Okay. I'm not too impressed with being told to use a greatsword for this, but we'll live with it. Although I suppose I could just play it safe and use this, which I believe has Mind's Eye. Yes. Let's just do that. I do have a green sharpness water greatsword, but I used that earlier on in this recording, so let's use the Acantor broadsword instead. If that's what it's still called. It's what it was called in 3rd gen, I think. Well, more like first. Not first. More like 2nd gen. And then the fan translation of Portable 3rd would have followed that. It's now called the Acantor God Sword. Very good. Okay. Alright. So, Gravius should be possibly in the top area? Well, that's where he used to be. I don't think he is now. That was more of a Freedom Unite starting area. In this game, he starts off here. I think this is a particularly large one. Obviously, Gravios is a big monster, but this is really big. Yeah, 4 Ultimate Insect Glaive was truly awful. Trivialized so many fights. It was basically the easy mode. If you were having trouble with a fight, you just slapped on the Insect Glaive and mounted the monster into oblivion. It was a shame, but Capcom addressed it. Fairly savagely, in my opinion. They completely castrated the weapon type, but I don't think it was a bad thing. I think it was an acceptable reaction. Or at least an understandable one. See, this is why I don't like using Greatsword on a Gravios. It's not just the... To be honest, it's not that he is armored in any way, because Greatsword usually can cut through that fairly well. It's more that he's got this attack, which, like, I have to be close to you in order to hit you. And I'm probably going to be in the middle of a charge while you do that attack. I can see when it's coming, but I can't really know that it's going to happen before you even start shooting your fire laser. Anyway, I'll just have to take a few hits, I suppose. I tried to roll through that. I did my best. Aggressive rolling attack. I can't quite remember him doing that in the earlier games. That's more of a Basarios move, isn't it? Maybe it was just so rare in older games that it feels strange to see it here. I think I just got that swing out, just barely. The good thing is that fire gas attack is not very damaging. We have to consider the fact that this is actually a hyper monster. It's not dealing that much damage to me, so they're being a little more generous. I remember it doing more damage in previous games. Even more so than this hyper version. Just got a big body moving in my camera's field of vision. He's definitely, like, at least Silver Crown. I would suggest Gold, but who knows. He is huge. I was very close to being caught in that. Fortunately not. There you go. Good opportunity there. Moonbreaker is back, but before I do that I might use Brimstone Slash before I forget. But not before I heal myself up. It's going to be particularly useful with Brimstone Slash, given how I choose to use it. Oh my god. I didn't think that he did that when he was doing the sweeping beam. I was hoping that the sweeping beam was exempt from the chance of having that gas attack. Should have gone in there with my brimstone slash. Hey, I'll try to do it. Are you doing it now? Yes. And no flinch. So now, I'm at half health and I'm falling asleep. I can see that you're trying to hit me midnight, or perhaps you weren't. I think I'm gonna die. It's just unfortunate because obviously when you use Brimstone Slash in the way that I am here as a counter-attack, which is ideal because you're getting boosted damage, it doesn't just make the attack come out faster, it boosts your damage when you get hit in the process of charging Brimstone Slash. But unfortunately, the follow-up was not something that would get me further away from the monster necessarily, it just put me asleep. That was not a good series of events. I sacrificed myself for the damage of Brimstone Slash. Yes, it's a bludgeoned greatsword loadout. I previously used the Plesioth Waveblade with its big chunk of green sharpness, but I wanted to use this weapon this time. Yeah, I do have Mind's Eye. I always bring that with bludgeoner loadouts. These are my skills. Specifically for bludgeoner greatsword. Alright, should be able to get this out. Well, I got it out, just not on target. For God's sake. I'm not trusting you. Okay, maybe he does it every time he does the sweeping beam, because ever since I noticed him do it, it's happened every time. But no, I do remember he did a sweeping beam while I was underneath him once and I was fine. It might be because he's got the hyper... No, that's his leg that's hyper, it's not his chest or his stomach. It's his leg and his face. I don't understand. All I understand is that using a greatsword on Gravios sucks. Well, there's a reason why I don't have crit boost. It's because even though it's good for this particular weapon, I don't just use this for the Acantor greatsword. It's a general use bludgeoner greatsword set. I'm also not that big a fan of crit boost. I'll use it with some loadouts, but I find that it completely destroys the balance of this game, so I try not to use it too much. It's so easy to just make every loadout crit boost. But yeah, if you were to make a set that was specific to this weapon, it would make sense to have crit boost, because the Acantor weapons do generally have positive affinity. Alright, this should be a good opportunity for Moonbreaker. Let's see if I can vault over his body. No, not quite. He's a bit too big. Yeah, I don't use Dragonheart very much. I should make a set with him, just to see how it plays. And we've got a limp. Pretty good for a group of 3, given the amount of health that this monster has normally. 3 people, Hyper Gravios. Oh, we're on the 10-minute mark now, but yeah, it didn't feel like it was too bad. Should I... Do you know what? I'm not going to risk doing my counter-attack Brimstone Slash while we are... I think 2 deaths in, are we? Yeah, 2 deaths in. Almost done. Yeah, well, I wasn't able to charge it up in time to have the opportunity to use it, but still. As tempting as it may have been, I, was not going to do it. Not a good idea, given the circumstances. It didn't go very well for me last time. Apparently this set has really good elemental resistance. I didn't even notice. Well, it's good for fire res. Yeah, that's really appropriate for this monster. It was completely intentional. Yeah, it was part of my calculations, you see. I knew that No, I'm not even going to pretend, actually. Oh, look at that. How good is that? The weapon's already so big, and then it expands as you charge it. Greatswords that physically change as you charge them are very good. I think it's most of them these days, isn't it? Wasn't really the case in previous games, but certainly by 4th gen it is. Alright, depending on what's put up on the board next, I may stick around in this room. Almost felt tempted to use Exchanger, and then I remembered. I'm not going to get any use out of that. So, 1 person left. I'm not really going to hang around. I'll just find another room. Deviant Grind with a tongue sticking out emoticon. H. Rathian. H as in high rank? I need to find this out. Because if this person is written H as in high rank, that's extraordinary. I just want to find out. You typed H instead of HR. Okay. I was just curious. Alright, I'll join this room. We've got an event quest on the board. The data transmission's a little slow. Doesn't bode well for connectivity during a quest if I manage to play with them. Unable to connect to the other consoles. Okay. Got lots of options now. Yeah. I think that's the Deviljo and Rajang quest, isn't it? Rotation. That's another way of saying turns. I'd prefer rotation to round robin quest picks, which is what the game itself decides to go with. That is an option that you can select in the room info. T-Dog78. Yeah, man. Should be D-A-W-G-G. T-Dog. Because I think that's how you're meant to read it. T-Dog. Or perhaps not. Okay. Hyper Nursilla. Let's select our weapon. This will be my last hunt, actually. Do you know what? I'm taking the executive decision to override that fucking selection. I'm not doing hammer on this monster. Greatsword again. Fine. Fine. Someone may argue that it's against the spirit of the roulette for me to override its decision, but hey, guess what? I'm making the rules around here. Mind your own. Okay. What's the... I'm not even gonna ask. I need to take responsibility for myself here. What is the goddamn weakness? Is it ice? I think it's either fire or ice. I really don't know. Nursilla, where art thou? Thunder. Well, fuck me then. So I have two different choices for Thunder Greatsword. I can either do Kezu Shock Sword. I need to remember which one I use with which. I guess the one with the worst sharpness is one I would use with my sharp loadout. So therefore, yes, I would use this Greatsword. The alternative is Lagiocrus, which I think I use with the Sharp Greatsword set. This one is a critical boost, critical draw set. Okay. I'll buy some drinks while I'm not under any pressure to ready arm. Okay. Well, an argument can be made to say that hammer's better than greatsword, but I'm not going to make that argument in the context of fighting a Nursilla. I've got no interest in doing that. No interest whatsoever. Certainly not for the final quest of the live stream. I don't really think I'm going a faster route, am I? Not really. I've taken a bit of a scenic route here. Yeah, I do love this armor set. Pretty cool. That's why it's transmogged. It's transmogged over Nesset. It took me several years to finally make a Nesset loadout, and this ended up being it. Because the skills that I've got on this armor set, believe it or not, like these particular skills, high grade earplugs, critical draw, critical boost, focus, only possible with Nesset. Not possible with anything else. It wasn't until I encountered a number of skills that could only be acquired with Nesset that I finally made a Nesset loadout. You're gonna come down? No, of course not. Oh well. I'll settle for a level 1. Not even that is achievable. Not enjoying myself. Quick! Get there. Would I be correct in saying that this has been a terrible start to the fight? I'd say so. I'll be going up. Or are we staying down? I didn't mean to... Whatever, no comment. I'm not even going to explain what happened in that moment. All I can tell you is that I did not intend to go to the top level at that point. I can barely see what's going on. Aha! Finally, an opportunity. Still was a bit off target with the head, but fine. Oh my god. Just out of range. So. I'm struggling enough to keep up with this monster already, without being put on my hands and knees by your longsword. Case in point. Have to do a level 1. Alright, let's get the Moonbreaker out. Let's break out the Moonbreaker. No, of course not. Is it just me, or is this monster just a little bit more mobile than usual? I suppose as compared to non-hyper. What a dick. No, you don't. Get me out of there. Abdomen time. Settle for a level 2 here. Alright, let's try to Brimstone Slash, shall we? Are you limping already? You poor bastard. You're hyper, and you're already limping. Bless you. Spider creature. Do you think I can get Brimstone Slash out? Reasonably? Let's just do it. Someone hit me, quick. Someone. Okay. Yeah. Alright, let's kill her with some Moonbreaker. Goodbye. Well, that was a really chaotic fight. Between the monster constantly being on the move and just chaotic damage from the team. Most notably from T-Dog. I'd say that was all over the place, but we succeeded. I don't think I can take credit for much of the damage dealt, but maybe for some of it. Wonderlord thinks it was clean. I guess in terms of how quickly we got it done, it was pretty clean. Yeah, the Brimstone Slash was good. That turned out alright. Because that's the thing, sometimes you can rely on the monster attacking you during it, and other times you can hope for a teammate to hit you. Has the same effect either way. Obviously, it's more ideal to have a teammate hit you, because that way you don't take damage. Alright. Cool. And that is it for this live stream. I hope you all enjoyed. It will indeed be Generations Ultimate again next time I play Monster Hunter. So don't be... don't sit there wondering, I suppose is what I'll say. Not sure when I'll be live again. Probably... could be tomorrow. I might go live again tomorrow, seeing as though it's Saturday. I will see you then, and I bid you farewell for now. That's the phrase. Goodbye.